Hey guys, welcome back. So it's obviously summertime, and personally, I think beer can be a little heavy if you're trying to drink it all day. But what I do love during summer is cocktails. So I'm gonna show you how to make like a kind of healthy cocktail. All right, so let's actually get into making the cocktail first, and then I'll show you how to make the mixer for it. And of course, I'm making a Moscow Mule because it's my absolute favorite. As you can tell by my 3 different kinds of Moscow Mule cups, I literally have 3 different sets. It's ridiculous. I could give Moscow Mules to 12 people and not run out of cups. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys how to make a quick ginger beer and then a actual probiotic kind of healthy beverage ginger beer as well towards the end of the video. But first, I'm gonna show you guys how to make my Moscow Mule recipe. So I am using Bellion vodka because, you know, we're going for a health drink kind of cocktail. It's made with this compound called NTX, and it's made from licorice root and some other ingredients, but it actually is supposed to protect your liver from the harmful effects of alcohol. So we're gonna combine that with a probiotic drink, and like by my calculations, this should just be a health beverage personally. I'm actually gonna use my measurer. This is unlike me, but I'm gonna put 1.5 ounces of Bellion vodka in my glass. This one's my favorite, so I'm gonna use this one. And then I have my probiotic ginger beer. This was all naturally fermented, so it's got wild yeasts, probiotics in it, etc. And it's obviously carbonated, and it was a natural carbonation. So I'm just gonna fill that up like halfway. You know, there's no rhyme or reason to what I do. I just make things so they taste good. My favorite thing to do with a Moscow Mule is to put juice from half of a lime in it. And you gotta get yourself one of these. And then you use the rest of the lime to garnish, obviously. All right, so ice, don't skimp on the ice. This is supposed to be cooling. And ta-da. You don't have to add any extra sugar to this. The Bellion vodka is actually slightly sweet because of the licorice root. So it's pretty much like almost no sugar, given that the sugar in the ginger beer should be fermented out by the yeast. And, you know, this one shouldn't be that alcoholic. If you try my quick ginger beer, that's a little alcoholic, but let's give this a try. Oh my God, that's so good. There's something very different about a ginger beer that's made naturally versus like your store-bought kind. It tastes less like soda and more almost like on the verge of a super gingery like wheat beer for some reason. I don't know, but it's really smooth, and the carbonation is a little lighter and more delicate than the forced carbonated ginger beers, so it's really delightful. And that half lime really gives it a kick that I love. I'm obsessed with lime though, so. Check the link below for this Bellion vodka, and I actually have a discount code on shipping below as well. I really have been enjoying it. It's also great with lemonade. I have just discovered another one of my favorite summertime cocktails. But now that we know how to make a Moscow Mule, here's how to make ginger beer from scratch. I'm gonna show you guys 2 ways to make ginger beer today. One is going to be the quick way. This happens in like 3 days, and I'm having a little pool party with all my vaccinated friends on Friday. So I want to have my ginger beer ready for that. And I'm gonna also show you the super good for you probiotic way. The first version is a tiny bit probiotic, but really nothing to write home about. The second way, we're making a ginger bug, which is kind of similar to a sourdough starter, and it's like full on health drink. So let's get into it. First things you're gonna need is a lot of ginger. Basically, for the first version, I'm going to make a gallon right away, and we're gonna need 1/2 cup of grated ginger for that. So I think we'll get there with this in like yeah, we're definitely gonna get there with this. And then I'm also gonna use some of this ginger to make a ginger bug. You need lemons, cream of tartar for the quick way, and bread yeast for the quick way. You know, I honestly thought about using beer yeast just because I have it around, but I wanted a sure thing, so I'm just gonna do it the way that I've done it before. All right, so to get started, we're gonna grate all of our ginger and juice some lemons. So if your mom never taught you, the way you peel ginger is with a spoon. So the skin comes right off and it takes no time. Honestly, a knife takes longer. I'm not gonna worry about that because we're gonna strain this out anyway, so who cares? All right, we have a lot of ginger. So I'm just gonna measure it out into my ball jar that I use to measure things. All right, so that's a little over a half cup. That'll be fine. The recipe I was going off of suggests that you boil your ginger and lemon juice and cream of tartar. I'm not gonna do this. The reason I'm not gonna do that is because once you do that, you basically kill any wild yeast that's on the ginger. So you remove all of the like probiotic properties that you could gain even within 3 days. So I'm just gonna put this in raw, and I'm going to, yeah, I'll mix my sugar and my cream of tartar in with warm water, but I'm not gonna boil anything. And like, honestly, it's gonna be drunk so quickly that I really don't think anything bad's gonna happen. And even if there is wild yeast and bacteria on the ginger, it will essentially just make a ginger bug within my ginger beer. So, you know, it'll have some health properties, even though it's also kind of quick started by the bread yeast. So I'm gonna go ahead and juice for my half cup of lemon juice. Oh, here's another tip. If you roll your lemons on the counter, it releases like the juice way easier. So this jar is where I'm going to actually start fermenting my ginger beer. So you basically bottle condition ginger beer to create a carbonated beverage, right? So the thing is, I don't have any plastic containers. So I'm gonna end up carbonating these in glass growlers, but that is an easy way to make glass explode. This thing is going to ferment like crazy for the first day and a half. So I'm going to just throw an airlock on it, ferment it like beer, and then transfer it probably tomorrow evening, and then throw it in bottles, you know, keep an eye on it, kind of purge it once a day or so until it's time to drink, and then I'm gonna just throw them in the fridge. So I'm just gonna wash this. Okay, so we want a teaspoon of cream of tartar. So cream of tartar is basically just a flavorless acid, and it's gonna help the yeast grow. Because, I mean, lemon juice is an acid, but I don't know. All the ginger beer recipes have this in it. I Googled it, no one really knows why. So that's in there. Now I'm gonna add my sugar. All right, so I'm gonna add 2 cups of sugar. That is a lot of sugar. I forget how much sugar is in soda. This is just warm water. Gonna try to get this to dissolve. All right, I'm gonna toss in my ginger, my lemon juice. Delicious. So we only need half of one of these packets. So make something else with it, I guess. I guess I'll measure it. You want 1 teaspoon of yeast. All right, I'm just gonna add a little bit more water and call it a day. I'm just putting water in here. It's really not necessary. You can like just honestly cover your ginger beer with a cheesecloth. You'll actually get more wild yeast in it that way if you want. Whatever, you know, I'm a creature of habit. I like airlocks. All right, so now let's make our ginger bug. So a ginger bug, again, is kind of like a sourdough starter. It is essentially a ginger beer starter, and it's gonna make its own yeast. So if you've ever made a sourdough starter, you know you kind of like drape a cloth over it, leave it on your counter, and somehow it makes bubbles, and it's basically just wild yeast on the ginger, in the ginger, and in the air that is making that happen. All right, we're gonna make a pretty large ginger starter. The recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of grated ginger, and 2 cups of water. I'm gonna make way more than that because I want it to go quickly. Also because I already grated a ton of ginger, so. 1, 2, 3, we're gonna call it 4. So I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of sugar. So for this guy, I just added some spring water, trying to keep chlorine out of it because, you know, the bugs on the ginger and in the air are a little more sensitive. I'm gonna cover this with a dish towel and a napkin over it. Actually, I'm gonna just do paper towels because I'm lazy and they're right here. All right, so I didn't fill it all the way up because for this guy, we're actually going to keep feeding it. So once a day, we're gonna feed it 1 teaspoon of ginger and 1 teaspoon of sugar. But this guy's gonna live in my cabinet. It's gonna live right there. Keep it dark, kind of warm. You want it to be like between 70 and 80 degrees. I think it's a little cooler than that in here. The warmer it is, the faster it will take place. Okay, so it's been 2 days, and as you can see, we have fermentation activity. This guy's been bubbling pretty much since like an hour after we added the yeast. So my party is tomorrow. I'm gonna transfer these so that hopefully they're carbonated by tomorrow. We'll see, I don't know. I've never done it this way before, so I don't know, trial and error. So how I'm going to transfer these, and this is all washed with soap and water. I didn't bother sanitizing it because like it's literally gonna be a day before we drink it. So I have 2 screen filters. I'm actually only gonna use 1 because this is just gonna get in the way. So there might be some chunks left in my ginger beer because this screen mesh is not like the most fine. But if you wanna get a more filtered product, you can actually just use like cheesecloth. And what I actually do with my cheesecloth is I do sanitize it with just Star San. I just kind of soak it in and then, you know, wring it out and let it sit because, you know, you never know what's in there. All right, so I'm gonna pull this and pray that I don't spill everywhere on camera because that's probably what's gonna happen. It smells really good. I'm actually gonna probably save some in the bottom so I can taste it. Oh my God, I can't believe this is working. All right, so that looks like it's about half of what we had. And honestly, I'm just gonna seal this up. I'm gonna leave it on my counter so I don't forget about it because if something's not right in front of me, it does not exist. So it will create a bottle bomb and we don't want that. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this sit, develop some pressure, and then probably purge it before I go to bed and when I wake up, and then kind of, if it's really crazy, I'll do it throughout the day tomorrow, but I don't think it's gonna be necessary. All right, please ignore my appearance. I've been cleaning all day, but let's try it. It smells delightful. It's good. So it's still got you can taste the yeast a little bit, but it's definitely sweet. It's gonna dry out more. I think next time I might add more ginger, but it pretty much tastes like commercial ginger beer, honestly. It's like kind of like the Bundaberg versus like, I really like the Reed's mainly because that's my husband's name, but the Reed's has like more of a kick, whereas this is kind of more mellow, but honestly this would be amazing with bourbon. Okay, so I have my ginger bug here. It's in a purple container, sorry, but it just looks like a slightly bubbly concoction of opaque gingery stuff. And we're gonna put it, you know, the recipe calls for 1 cup of a starter. I'm gonna put 2 cups because I want this to be done ASAP. All right, so I'm gonna start with my 2 cups of starter. There's 3 cups here, so I just gotta pour down to the... All right, so this is where all the yeasty goodness is. And what I'm actually gonna do is give this some more water and feed it so that it can keep growing. And how you feed it, it's just a tablespoon of grated ginger. And this is how you treat your ginger when you're trying to grow it, essentially. And then we also use a tablespoon of sugar. Putting my little paper towel back on. You want it to breathe because it's literally picking up yeast from the air. And then you throw it back in your cabinet and forget about it. All right, so that's our first part. The recipe calls for a 1/3 cup of ginger, but I really like a gingery ginger beer, so I'm doing a 1/2 cup. And then we're doing 1/2 cup of lemon juice and 1.25 cups of sugar. I'm gonna mix this all up and then fill to the top with water, obviously. Okay, so I'm gonna throw my lid on and throw an airlock on. So this is supposed to take anywhere from like 5 days to like 2 weeks. So I'm gonna hope that mine takes about 5 days, and then I'm gonna carbonate it for a couple days in growlers like this. And that will, you know, give it the bubbles that you expect from a ginger beer. And then we are gonna make cocktails. So you wanna store this in a dark, warm place, such as my garage, which is exactly where it's going right now. Okay, so this is our probiotic ginger beer. Pretty much looks almost exactly like the non-probiotic. It's a little clearer though. Something about the bread yeast makes it a little cloudy. I much prefer a clearer ginger beer. I'm gonna actually do a little taste test before we bottle this. This is just sanitizer Star San. I'm gonna do the old bartender's trick of pulling some out with a straw. Let's see if I can do it through this hole. Yes. All right. We don't want it to be too sweet. That's kind of what we're tasting for. If it's too sweet, we can kind of explode the bottles. And then it's probably not as probiotic as we want it. Hello, it's everywhere. That's actually delightful. So it's very slightly sweet. I'm debating whether I should add more sugar, but I don't think so. Honestly, this could actually use a little bit more ginger, I think. That's for my taste though. But you know, the carbonation sometimes brings out flavors like spiciness. So we're just gonna ride it like it is. The vodka that I'm going to use to make my Moscow Mules is Bellion, and it actually is a little sweet. So I'm not going to add any sugar, but if you're just gonna drink this, you know, as a ginger beer, whatever, or as a health beverage, you could add a little more sugar if you like it on the sweeter side. I'm not a huge like sugary beverage fan, so I typically make my things a little less sweet than your average, especially less than your commercial varieties. Those are like packed full sugars. Just like the other ginger beer, we're going to put them in here, split them between these two growlers, seal them up, and let them carbonate for probably 3 days. And then we get to make Moscow Mules. So I sanitize everything just because I'm used to it, but you can just wash things with soap and water. It's fine. These little guys, Amazon, so nice. God, I'm so bad at pouring things. Now I get to mop everything. All right, I'm sticking a paper clip in here to prevent it from sealing. I think that's part of my problem, besides not being able to pour. In theory, you could have just kind of kept a little bit in here and just refilled it with your ginger and sugar and just kept making it. I'm going out of town, so I don't really want to deal with it, and I have my starter, and this took like all of 4 days. So as you can see, this is all the yeast floating around that cloudiness, our lovely wild yeast from our ginger, and sealing it. You should burp these obviously like once a day, just so you don't have any bottle bombs going on. And I'm gonna leave it in my garage again, and you know, cool, dark place. Well, cool, hot, dark place. And I will meet you guys back here when we're ready to make cocktails.